Let's go ahead and leave the lights on, actually. We don't, guys, you didn't come here to see pictures because I'm not giving you any. This is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and we'll see how it goes. I would just ask that, this is a scripture that I love. Open your ears that you may hear and your hearts that you may understand. You have to have an open mind when you're receiving some feedback, because we're going to have some blunt conversations today. So, and the only reason that I feel like I can talk about this is because I've paid the price of experience. And honestly, whatever I share with you, take it as it is, because I'm just some guy, right? I'm no expert. I've just been through some things, and I've experienced some things that I hopefully can help you so you don't have to experience those things. It's funny, I love coming to conference. I've been coming to conferences for a long time. And whenever we come to the UPAA conference, we become phototherapists, right? How many of you guys had a few therapy sessions already? Yeah. Okay, so just you go ahead and raise your hands. How many of you have heard this yet this week? Good. Okay, now you guys are like being shy. It's okay. We're all photographers. We know. Yeah, here we go. The coach won't give me time to do it right. Yeah, I've said that a few times. How many of you believe your administration's hard to work with? All the hands. Okay, good. I don't want to go all those meetings. I just want to take pictures. How many of you said that before? Oh, the hands are coming up. Okay, here we go. Nobody is fighting for photographers. Good. I mean, here in the front row, she is batting 1,000. The designers won't work with me.
Not them. They're great. I love them. They are my best friend. I'm not kidding.
She realized it's being recorded.
They rock.
So the sad and the unfortunate truth is this: you're the problem. Now, before you get your tripod's legs all twisted up, give me a chance to explain. What I really want to say is this: when you use an excuse, you are the problem. Let me tell you about my son Isaac. My son Isaac he's a lot of fun. He's my oldest of 4. We have chaos in our house at all times. And Isaac went to a charter school, and in this charter school, they had like a specific polo shirt. They had like 3 colors. They had to wear that polo shirt, right? Which made it really easy to shop for kids, but it also got kind of boring. One day, my wife got a text from Isaac, who was maybe 14, 15, and he's like, "Mom, can you please come bring me one of my shirts?" And my wife's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I have. For some reason, Dad didn't make sure that I was wearing the right shirt this morning, so I wore a t-shirt instead of my polo shirt. And I'm going to get in trouble if I don't change." And my wife's like, "Wait, it's Dad's fault? How is that even possible?" See, the problem with this excuses is this: is that when you make an excuse, you give up all of your power. And when Isaac blamed his dad for not checking his outfit, he gave up his power to change. So I want to just share a quick video.
In 1983, a few partners and I started a new company which taught time management seminars and created and sold day planners. For corporate seminars, we sent our consultants to the client's headquarters where they taught at the corporate training facilities. Prior to the seminar, 2 employees in our distribution center would prepare and ship several boxes of training materials, such as the day planner, binders, and forms. Also included was a participant seminar guidebook of around 100 pages with quotes, fill-in-the-blanks, graphs, illustrations. The 2 distribution center employees would normally send the seminar shipment about 10 days before the seminar. At the time the following incident occurred, we were teaching around 250 seminars each month. With so many seminar shipments, these 2 employees would often commit errors, such as not shipping sufficient quantities or omitting certain materials or not shipping on time. This became an irritating and often embarrassing frustration for the consultants. When these problems occurred, the seminar division would file a complaint with me, as the distribution center was one of my responsibilities. When I spoke to these two employees about errors and system improvements, they never wanted to accept responsibility for the errors. They would blame others, like saying, "It's not our fault. The seminar division filled out the seminar supplies request form incorrectly, and we sent the shipment exactly according to their specifications. It's their fault. You can't blame us." Or they might say, "We shipped it on time, but the freight company delivered it late. You can't blame us." Or another excuse was, "The binder subsidiary packaged the individual seminar kits with errors, and we shipped the kits as they were given to us. It's their fault." It seemed these two employees were never responsible for the errors, and so the errors continued. Then something critical happened. The director of training for a large multinational corporation attended one of our seminars and was so thrilled with it that she invited us to teach a pilot seminar to its 50 or so top executives. On the day of the seminar, our consultant arrived and opened the boxes of materials and discovered that the seminar guidebooks were missing. Without the seminar guidebook, how would the participants follow along and take notes? Their training director was panic-stricken. Our consultant did the best he could by making sure each participant was given a pad of paper on which to take notes throughout the day, and the seminar turned out reasonably well even without the guidebook. Extremely embarrassed and angry, their training director called our seminar division and said, "You will never teach here again. How could you have made such an embarrassing and inexcusable error with our pilot seminar?" An upset senior vice president of our seminar division called me and said, "This is the last straw. We're about to lose $1 million account because of the distribution center's errors. We simply can't tolerate any more errors." And as one of the owners of the company, I couldn't tolerate such errors either. But at the same time, I did not want to see these two breadwinners fired. After pondering possible solutions, I decided to implement an incentive system to motivate these two men to be more careful. For each seminar shipped correctly, they would receive $1 additional, or a possibility of an extra $250 each month, hopefully enough to focus their attention on quality. However, if they made one error, a $1 penalty wasn't much of a loss. I therefore decided to also include two $100 bonuses for no errors. With the first error, they not only lost $1, but the first $100 bonus. If they made a second error, they lost the second $100 bonus. I also told them, if there is an error, you will lose your bonus, regardless of where that error originates. You are 100% responsible for that shipment. "Well, that's not fair," they responded. "What happens if the seminar division fills out a seminar supply request form incorrectly and not knowing we send the shipment with their errors?" I said, "You will lose your bonus. You are 100% responsible for that shipment's success." "Well, that's not fair. What happens if we send the shipment on time, but the freight company delivers it late?" I said, "You will lose your bonus. You are 100% responsible." "That's not fair. What happens if the binder division commits errors in prepackaging the individual seminar kits? You can't blame us for their mistakes." "You will lose your bonus," I once again responded. "You are 100% responsible for that shipment's success. Do you understand?" "That isn't fair." "Well, it may not seem fair, but that's life. You will lose your bonus." What I did was to eliminate the anti-responsibility list as an option for them. They now understood that they could no longer blame, make excuses, or justify errors even when they were right and it was someone else's fault. What happened next was fascinating to observe. When they would receive an order from the seminar division, they would call the seminar division up to review the form with them item by item. They took responsibility for correcting any errors committed by the seminar division. They began to read the freight company's documents to make sure the correct delivery date was entered. They began to mark the cardboard shipping boxes 1 of 7, 2 of 7, etc., with the box contents written on the outside of the box. They began sending the shipment 3 or 4 days earlier than their previous routine. A few days before the seminar, they would call the client company to verify receipt of the shipment and the contents. If they somehow omitted any materials, they had 3 or 4 extra days now to send missing items by express shipment. Errors finally stopped, and they began to earn their bonus month after month. It was a life-changing experience for them to learn firsthand the power, control, and reward of being 100% responsible. What these 2 employees learned is that when they blamed someone else, they were surrendering control of the shipment success to others, the seminar division or the freight company, etc. They learned that excuses keep you from taking control of your life. They learned that it is self-defeating to blame, make excuses, or justify mistakes, even when you are right. The moment you do any of these self-defeating things, you lose control over the positive outcomes you are seeking in life.
That talk changed my life, changed how I think about what is my responsibility. I've been known to make a few excuses in my time, and I think it's really easy to fall into that trap. But when you don't make any excuses, when you live excuse-free, it changes your life because you finally become in control of your life. I love that phrase, but that's not fair. Again, I did mention I have 4 kids, right? Should I just tell you another story about them? When you have 4 children, how many of you have just one child? Okay, I love you and I respect you as parents, but you're not going to understand this story. You need to have multiple children to understand this. Whenever we have a treat, whenever we have a dessert, the distribution has to be equal. Exactly equal. Because if it's not equal, what happens, Kendra?
Well, they fight.
They fight. It's a nightmare. It's a mess. And you know, long ago we introduced them to the concept of, well, one of you will cut it, the other one will choose. And then that's the best way to ensure that it's fair. And that works to a point, except for when you have 4 children. So my children, being the brilliant children that they are, came up with their own solution. They discovered the food scale in our house. Now, I don't know how you could get a more accurate way of distributing, food. But being the meddling parent who sometimes should just keep his mouth shut, I just started making fun of him. And I'm like, oh, you think you guys got it all figured out, huh? Well, Isaac, you're 18. And Max, you're 10. When Isaac was 10, he didn't get that size of a brownie. So shouldn't we be prorating the size on age? And it was kind of like dropping a grenade and walking out of the room. It's so funny to me that they can have this amazing, beautiful treat, but they cannot enjoy it unless they have an exactly equal portion of the treat. Otherwise, apparently, the sugar just disappears, right? Fair is their goal. They need it to be fair. And I'm going to tell you right now, fair is the stupidest word in the English language. Nothing is fair, right? Life ain't fair. And if all you do is you worry about fair, you'll never be happy. Another thing is that being right doesn't matter. Again, 4 children, all 4 cannot be right, ever. And it's something that we see a lot in my household, and honestly, you see it at work. We get so fixated on being right and making sure that the entire world knows that we are right, that we just end up causing problems for ourselves. You see, you can be right and wrong at the same time. Now, if you're in a relationship, you understand this, right? You can be 100% correct and make sure that your significant other knows that you're 100% correct and hurt the relationship. And you're like, but wait, I'm right. It doesn't matter. If you're a jerk about it, it doesn't matter, right? That's just something it's just a timeless truth. Being right does not justify bad behavior. And what is it about photographers that makes us feel like we're entitled enough that when we're right, we can just have a hissy fit? Why is it that we can be the rebels and we can throw things and we can swear? Is it like, what do we think we are? We just push buttons for a living, And too often I've heard too many stories of photographers throwing a tantrum and causing much bigger problems for their relationships in the long run. Children worry about blame, but professionals focus on solutions. The real question I have for you guys today is why do we make excuses? This is where you talk. Raise your hand. Why do we make excuses? There's many reasons. Yes?
We don't feel empowered.
We don't feel empowered. That's great.
Takes the blame away from us.
It takes the blame away from us.
Avoid responsibility.
Because we're avoiding responsibility. Keep coming. You guys are rolling.
We're afraid of consequence.
We're afraid of consequences. Yeah. More? Yes?
I'm just going to add, telling excuses. I didn't know how bad I was until I one day became a photo editor.
Yeah.
And I listened to my junior photographers, and I'm just like, I literally wanted to call all my mentors, all my old photo editors from my internships, and say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I didn't know how stupid I was acting. Like it kind of did the whole 180, and then learning them.
For those joining us on video, what he said is he didn't understand how many excuses he made to become a photo editor and had to deal with the excuses. I'm telling you, photographers are Olympian athletes when it comes to excuses, right?
Coming up with solutions is a lot harder and a lot more work.
Yes, it's a lot harder to come up with a solution. It's a lot harder to fix the problem. I think it all comes down to one thing, though. I think it all comes down to fear. And if you really think about it, if you go to the root of it, everything that you said is fear-based. We're afraid of not being controlled. We're afraid of not having power. We're afraid of not being able to be fulfilled in what we're trying to do. Everything comes down to fear. Here's another question. Why do we accept excuses? This is still where you talk.
Empathy sometimes.
Empathy? You feel sorry for him? You did okay.
Like our last slide.
Good.
It becomes something to deal with then.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, great. Now I have to deal with it, right? What else? Why do we accept excuses from others? Yes?
You don't want to ruin a relationship.
Yeah, relationship. You're afraid to hurt the relationship, right? Good. In the back.
Sometimes you know there are limits.
Yes, you know there are limits, and sometimes you just throw your hands up, right?
Avoid conflict.
You want to avoid conflict. Absolutely, right? Anybody else? Oh, in the back.
You think it'll be better the next time?
Yeah, you hope it will be better the next time. I don't know that we actually think it will be. We just hope it will be, right? So I think it's really important to understand that nobody has an easy life, right? And the reason that they pay you every month is because you have challenges. And I think if we can look at challenges as growth, as opportunities to grow, it helps us reframe the issue. I think that most of my growth has come from the biggest challenges that I've faced. Because when I have an easy road, I don't grow. So maybe to just reframe the way you look at things. I just wanted to tell this story. Right now, we live in the era of the AI boogeyman. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Everywhere, all you hear about, AI is taking over photography. AI is going to put us out of jobs. It's going to make our family not talk to us anymore. It's going to take over the world, thanks Skynet, right? AI is the biggest threat to photography we've ever faced, correct? Reminds me of a time, 20-something years ago, when the digital boogeyman was about. I was a student photographer at BYU when digital kind of first came into it. BYU was one of the first universities to receive a Nikon D1. Anybody here use the D1? Yeah, I could see it in your eyes. Those lines, mostly. So we were really comfortable with film. Film was great. We could process film in our sleep. We could file film really easily. We could find things. We could print things. Whatever. Film was awesome. And then digital came along, and it was funny for some people like me. I'm a tech guy. I love technology, and I thought this is cool, right? For most photographers, it scared them to death. That fear came into it. And I remember coming to the 2001 conference and hearing a lot of people talking about the digital boogeyman. And some people were like, I think this could be good. And other people were like, this is the worst thing ever. I'm never going to shoot digital. I've heard that. I will never shoot digital. It's not good. It's not real art. It will never be as good as the high resolution as film. I'm telling you, I heard that so many times back then. So we finally bought a Nikon D1, and it happened to be during October, so we didn't know anybody that had one. We were like, this is cool, let's try it out. We pull it out of the portrait studio, and we take a picture with it with the exact same settings as we do on a film camera, and it looked like, I don't know what happened. It looked like Picasso exploded against a camera, right? It was just like, what is going on? The colors are wrong, the exposure is different. Why doesn't it look like a film would look like? So we kind of were intimidated by it. We set the camera, I am not joking, in our cabinet for a month and didn't touch it. It was homecoming, we were busy, we're like, we'll worry about that problem later. Finally it slowed down in the next month and we pulled it out, we started dialing around with it, we started figuring it out. And I started taking it on test shoots, Mark would take it on test shoots, and we learned really quickly, like there's some really good things that are with this, but it's still, we just have to figure out the new system. We had to redo our filing system, we had to redo how we do proof sheets, how we distribute images to clients, and we had to learn how to massage those files. Those D1 files, they loved magenta. That's all they loved, right? Turns out we became one of the first universities to switch to full digital. And because of that, because we went through that pain, we were able to help a lot of other photographers, especially in this group, make that switch too. Because we figured out probably the best way to do it. And then we also got feedback from others, what they were doing, and we incorporated that. And we've been digital, ever since, of course. I think that right now we're in an era like that where we're looking at AI as this horrible, evil, bad, and nasty thing. Guess what? It doesn't matter what you think, you ain't stopping it. So look at it as an opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity to maybe do something differently. Because AI, we talk about AI and we're thinking about AI created photos. No, AI encompasses so many things. Think about the AI that's in your camera on autofocus algorithms. Think about AI assistants that can help you be more efficient. Think about using AI to fill out those reports and those forms that you hate doing. Because for photographers, I'm telling you, they hate writing more than anything else, right? AI could be a lot of solutions. The best thing you should do is embrace it and find ways in which you can become an expert in it and use it for good, right? And then embrace things that AI can't do. AI cannot show up to the banquet and take a picture of the president. AI cannot be a news photographer on campus and document real life. There are things that we can lean into that will help protect us in the future. So don't run away, don't stick your head in the sand, move forward. So, let's talk about some solutions. I've talked about a lot of problems, and we need to talk about some solutions. First of all, it all comes down to relationships. We have to prioritize our relationships on campus. I kind of like to describe it like this. A campus is kind of like a family reunion that never ends, and you're the red-headed kid that everybody doesn't want to talk to because they're weird, right? That's what a campus is like. Nobody understands what a photographer does. Nobody understands what a photographer needs. And honestly, all the photographer does is get a camera in people's faces and bother them. So we need to focus on how we can prioritize our relationships on campus. First of all, first and foremost, something my students and I, we talk about all the time. No matter the relationship, no matter what happens, whether you're dealing with a coworker or a client or a fan, we will be the professionals in that relationship. And one of the best pieces of advice I have ever been given is be kinder than you want to be. I have never, not once ever, regretted being kinder than I want to be. In the moment, it may not feel great, but when I cool down, I am so grateful that I try to follow that mantra and that advice, because kindness will always win. Next, take care of those who take care of you. There are a lot of people on your campus that should help you, but it doesn't mean they will. So if you have somebody that's taking care of you, you take care of them. Just to give you an example, I love the BYU Police Department. They're awesome. They help us out so much. And anytime the police department calls, I will say yes before they even say what they need, right? I'll find a way to take care of them because they always take care of me. Whenever I need to get into a place on campus that I'm not supposed to take pictures, I call them. And whenever they need me to take a picture for them, they call me. We take care of each other and we have a great relationship. There are those people on your campus, I'll bet you know people like that you can take better care of. So if you're at an event, you see them, take a picture of them and just email it to them. Don't bill them, please. Just take care of those people and they'll take care of you. Another thing to do is forgive and forget. I've talked to photographers that were wronged 20 years ago, and all they can talk about is how they were wronged 20 years ago by this one thing, right? And here's another truth. Anger is poison. And when you are angry and holding a grudge against somebody, all you're doing is taking poison and you're just wrapping it up and you're putting it inside you. And that poison does nothing to the person who wronged you. Nothing. You are wasting your time. You are wasting your life. Let it go. It doesn't matter. You will be happier when you forgive and move on. And that goes for any relationship that you have. Here we're talking about your campus relationships. Don't blacklist anybody. Don't badmouth anybody. Let it go. you'll be happier. You just will be happier in your life, and you'll get rid of that poison. So forgive and forget. Lastly, present solutions, not problems. It's really easy to present a problem. And I love my students that come to me with a problem and 2 or 3 solutions. They're the best, right? That's the kind of employee I want to be when I go to my boss. I want to always come with a solution. It may not be the solution. It may not be the right solution, but at least it's an option. And that saves her a lot of the time of having to deal with it, you know. She'd much rather be able to choose between A, B, and C than have to come up with a solution on her own. That makes me a good employee. Creative. You need to be creative. Your camera is the master key of campus. Have you ever thought about that? My camera has taken me all over the world, and because of what my camera can do. And in your campus, it can get you past any door and past any obstacle. You need to be positive about that and understand the power of your camera and the power that you have as a visual creative in this world at this time. Most of our communication happens through social media, which is a visual communication platform. We are the expert communicators on our campus, and we don't even have to spell, right? Use that camera to open doors. Build your support group. One of the great things about coming to a conference like this is there is not another place on the planet right now that has 250 people that go through everything that you go through every single day. Take advantage of that. Talk to people at dinner. Make friends. Build a group. Build a support group of people that you can send your photos to get honest feedback. That you can ask questions of how do I deal with this challenge, or what are some possible solutions I can take to my boss. Build your support group here. And then finally, be humble enough to reprioritize or even fully pivot. Don't be stubborn. That's really what I should have just said. Don't be too stubborn, because sometimes we're wrong. And if you're humble enough to admit you're wrong and move on, or maybe delay or pivot or whatever, if you just are going to die on that hill, you're still dead. Okay? So be willing to reprioritize and pivot. Next, become a leader. I cannot stand when people say that nobody's advocating for photographers. Why would they? They're not photographers. We are. And if you want somebody to speak for photographers on your campus, be that person. And you know what that takes? It means you have to go to meetings. And I know that we don't like meetings. But let me just explain something to you. The way that a corporation and a bureaucracy communicates is through meetings. If you want to have a voice, you have to be at the meeting. And not just be at the meeting doing something like doing emails and ignoring the meeting. Focus on the relationships that you have with the people at the meeting. Because that's where you can hear about ideas. That's where you can bounce ideas off other people. That's where you can be part of the solution. If you don't go to the meeting, they're going to come up with those photo ideas that are not allowed to happen because of the laws of physics, right? But if you're in the meeting, you can be an advocate for the visuals. My job as a director of photography is to go to meetings. And I would like to take more pictures, but my job is to be an advocate to give my people the opportunity to succeed. Now, if you're a solo photographer on the campus, guess what? You're the director of photography. And it's your job to advocate for photography. So embrace those meetings, take advantage of them. They are opportunities, not a waste of time. Show, don't tell. Sorry, I skipped that. When I talk about show, don't tell, sometimes, again, we're great visual communicators. We stink at writing, right? And we'll write a proposal and people will still not understand what we're trying to say. Like, what is this photo actually going to be? What are you talking about? What is it going to require? Sometimes I just have to go take a test shot so I can show the photo. This is what it could be, but imagine there's lights here and there's students here. And that's just so much easier for people to process. Heck, even sketch it. Just do something to show people what you want to do, not just tell them. Normalize numbers. Hopefully you take advantage of Matt's session tomorrow. He's talking about what we mean about normalizing numbers. Numbers are important. We, again, are visual people that work in a bureaucracy of letters and numbers. And administrators don't make decisions off of feelings. They make decisions off of data. And data-driven decisions are the ones that affect you and what you can do. We track everything that we do, and it's really simple. We know every frame we shot, who we shot it for, how many hours, who's shooting it, how many nights, how many days of travel, all that stuff. And that data has helped us so much. So check out Matt's session tomorrow if you want to learn more about that. But it is important to speak the language of business, which is numbers. Rewriting your job description. How many of you have rewritten your job description before? Guess what? AI is going to make your job a lot easier really soon. Give it a hug. Rewriting a job description is important because my job, I think in the last 8 years, I've rewritten my job description 3 times. Because my job has changed that many times. And we've had to reprioritize things, and bringing on a 3rd full-time photographer, I had to change everything up again and constantly be rewriting it and analyzing what it is I'm doing and how can I be more effective. And that's really important, not only for pay, but for access. You know, me making sure people know this is what I do, this is how I'm evolving. You're constantly evolving in what you should do. Don't leave your job description in somebody else's hands. Finally, become a problem solver, and this kind of ties to what we talked about before. There are a lot of problems. People have problems every day. Find a way to be a person that people will come to you and ask for solutions. That will make you more valuable and make you have better relationships, and it'll help you serve people. And I think serving people is just really an important concept that we need to embrace. Finally, having a growth mindset. I think it's really important to focus on goals. And our campus, I do really like what we do every year. We do a really good review, and I set my goals, and then we follow up on the goals from last year. And some people think like, this is a waste of time. I should be taking pictures. But it is really easy to get lost in the day-to-day minutia of being a photographer, and not focus on what it is you need to, what it is you need to do to serve your campus community better. We've had a new president that came in, and he's got some initiatives that I love. And we've actually changed some of our priorities to line up with his initiatives, because we need visuals for the president and for the administrators to be able to communicate those initiatives to other people. And it's been really good because it's actually reprioritized some of the things that I'm doing. And I want to constantly get better. A photographer that thinks that they're perfect is never going to improve, right? We can always improve, we can always get better, so focus on those goals. And again, that's another reason to go to professional development, something like this. You're here learning from other people who are experts in what you do. Learn from them, take it back to your campus. In fact, I would suggest that you go home next week and you write up a report. Yes, this will include typing. You write up a report on some of the most important things you learned, some of the things you would like to implement at your campus, and why you feel like it's so important for you to come back next year. Because a lot of people, let's be honest, a lot of people go to conference to get drunk, right? And if you go to conference and come back with something, your boss is going to be much more motivated to help you be involved in this group and continue to learn. Because the wealth of knowledge is right here. So come back, return and report to your bosses, and help them understand all the valuable insights that you gained from being here. And the final thing is that if something does scare you, do it. I remember I was approached many years ago by a conference, a photography conference, and they asked me to teach a workshop on sports photography. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've done lots of 1-hour workshops. And they're like, no, we want you to do a 3-day workshop. And I heard them like, what now? 3 days is pretty intimidating when all you've taught is 1-hour workshops. And I almost said no. So it came back that I just thought about it and thought about, you know what, like, what's the worst that could happen, right? The paycheck will probably still clear, and I'll be okay. They just will never invite me back. So I said yes, and I spent months preparing this workshop, basically teaching photographers how to be team photographers. We covered like 16 different sports. We taught them lighting. I mean, it was crazy what we did, and I definitely did not get paid enough because I worked hard. I am so grateful that I took that challenge and that opportunity, because everything that's happened since then in I do a lot of teaching. I do YouTube. I do a lot of public speaking. Everything that's happened since then is because of that one moment that I was willing to face my fears and do something that scared me. Now, all of this being said, you might be saying, well, you're just a guy at BYU. Life is perfect and rosy for you. Well, it's not. Come talk to me later. You know, I have challenges just like you, and I have struggles just like you, and I'm constantly trying to improve my situation. But I think that sometimes we just get in the position where we're just so overwhelmed with the negativity that we want to give up. We just want to throw up the towel, and we just acquiesce and just accept the excuses that we're beset by. Don't ever forget this. You do have your ultimate power. You always have a power. Even if it is, you work at a university that is really toxic and is a bad environment, the power that you have is you can always leave. Don't forget that. There are better jobs out there, I promise. There are better situations out there. Even if you leave photography, and go work in corporate America. If you're happier, it's worth it. Now, I personally believe that you can repair most situations, and most challenges can be solved, sometimes by patience, sometimes by diligent work. But you always have the power to control the happiness in your life. You have to be in charge of your own happiness. So the final thing I want to say is this. The truth about the lies that we tell ourselves is actually this. You're the solution. I'm hoping that when you walk away from this little chat we've had, that you understand that you actually do have a lot more power than you realize. And I would love for you to take this back to your campus and find ways in which you can improve your situation. And please, don't accept any more excuses. Don't make any more excuses. Be 100% responsible and you'll be a happier person. I went to Nepal last year. So we were doing a research trip, and basically what was happening is we're doing, the Nepalese government, universities asked for some help. And the situation is that in Nepal, farmers farm during the wet season, right? And then they come back during the dry season, they all migrate, and they're migrant workers during the summer season. And a lot of them build bricks. And the way they make bricks is they come to the factory like this, and they're actually made by hand. They take a wooden form, slap it in, form it up, flip it over, and then they have to rotate them every few hours so that those bricks dry in the sun. These are artisan bricks. And every brick that she makes, she gets a few pennies for. And our job was to go and help document a research team that was going to kind of look at the health conditions. There's a lot of silica in the air. There's a lot of water situation. Just try to do measurements to help them up. We were working with the Nepalese government and with their university to give them readings, to give them some solutions. We weren't there to solve the problem. We were just there to give them data. So basically, we were just trying to find ways that we could help these people. And these are just amazing, amazing people. Once they form the bricks, they take them to a kiln, and you can kind of, they stack them up in a pile, and then they cover it with dirt, and then they have little holes in it. They drop coal dust down, and then they light it up. And that's their furnace. So here's a guy who's working the fires. These are little holes where they drop the coal down. And I'm telling you, while I'm standing on this, it's about 40 feet high. I could just feel the soles of my feet melting. And then after they fire them, they go and they stack them. And I love this picture because it reminds me of something that's really important. I kind of didn't want to exploit these people. And I felt like it's really easy to fall into that exploitive photography. Look how much they're suffering. And when I got there and when I got to know them and I got to meet them, I realized something. They're happy. Some of the happiest people I've ever met in my entire life because they're content. And yeah, they don't have what I have. This is the team that did it. This is kind of them doing the assessments. They live on the factory property in these little huts. These are the kind of the air quality monitors that we were using, the water testing, and this is the huts that they live in. They're short little huts, and they just have a propane heat. That's how they cook. And it's like, this is it. And the thing that we learned is that this is all they needed. They were very happy and they were content. And as I was driving back in my van to my luxury hotel to have my luxury meal, it hit me. Why am I not as happy as them? And when it all comes down to it, we are in charge of our happiness. We cannot let other people be in charge of our happiness. If you want to be happy, do something about it. And that's it. Now I'll take questions. Go ahead, it's fine. And I know I've opened a Pandora's box. Here we go.
What other type of speaking do you do?
This is my third presentation in a week, so I don't know. I spoke to an alumni group last week. I do a lot of photography presentations. I do a lot of training. I do a lot of things. I was an LDS bishop at Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was a bishop for 6 years, so I did a lot of public speaking. And I am telling you, a lot, like all the time. And I would sometimes have to get up and speak for 20 minutes without any preparation. And my kids know that I can ramble. I'm fine. I have no problem at it. But yeah, that preparation was key. It's because I did not start out doing a lot of public speaking. That's for sure. Yes, Skinner.
When you talk about photo presentations, do you do that among your team, not other photographers? I feel like that's a need that maybe we have because I care so much about our visuals and we do a great
Yes.
job, but then sometimes they're not used, I think.
Yeah.
How do you
Okay, that's a great question. I love that question. So her question is how do we help promote the photography on campus to other units on campus? Every campus has professional development seminars, right? We go to those and we speak at those. And we'll do a fun visual presentation with awesome photos, and I'm telling you, it's way better than the IT's presentation. Sorry, Michael. Because it's got visuals and it's got stories and it's exciting. And we're especially trying to get them to come to our stock archive, because we have so many photos that they can access through stock. We're trying to partner with some, so we actively seek out opportunities to speak to the campus community. Honestly, you could also partner up with museums and stuff, and they're always happy to have photographers come lecture. But I'd say looking at the professional development side, there's always professional development that's tied to new hires. That's another good opportunity to speak to your campus community. Departments, and just making it known, hey, we do presentations. And some departments are like, oh, we have to have our training meeting. What if we had a photographer in lunch? That's a lot more fun than maybe some of the other things they would normally do. So you just have to be proactive about it and let them know about it and pitch it. And I'm telling you, the funny thing about a campus community is it's like any other family. When you go to one department, the word gets out, right? And then the other one calls, and then the other one calls, and all of a sudden you've got some good friends you've built. So that's a great question. Yes?
What are you speaking about? What's your presentation topic?
When I'm speaking at a campus community?
Yeah.
I'm talking about especially the importance of photography. I'm talking about photography and social media, using good photography and social media. I actually go through like tips and training them how to choose a good photo versus a bad photo. I go through photo psychology. I go through our stock archive. I explain how it is you work with us, or most of the time I want to say we're too busy. We'll come to you, kind of thing. But I try to educate them, because there's a lot of people on campus that are social media managers, and I can help them choose a better photo. I'm going to take that opportunity. I work with a lot of designers. Same thing. As a photographer, let me tell you some truths about designers, and I'll have a lot of fun with them and show them what they're doing wrong. But those are great opportunities, and you should seek them out. It is a way to build a community on campus. Yes. Sorry, I don't know who was next. So Matt.
Are any of those presentations recorded? I would love to see them.
They are, no. I probably should record some of them, because I think I would love to turn them around and put them on our YouTube channel. In fact, the one I spoke last week at an alumni event, donor event. And I've never spoken at a donor event. I was the featured speaker. And to me, that was like, why me? And then I realized there was a big conference going on the other side of the campus that everybody else was at. So I was the only one left. But it was a great opportunity, and they love BYU, and I love taking pictures of BYU, so it was a really good experience. And I would actually love to do more of that. And they've talked to me about going and speaking at, we have, kind of alumni groups in different parts of the country. They've actually talked to me about going and speaking to those groups, and I'm all game. I'd love to do that. And maybe we tie it to sporting events and stuff. Yeah, over here.
What are you reading?
What am I reading?
I assume that a lot of this is coming, how do you educate yourself? How do you keep the motivation? How do you keep
I read a ton, but I mostly read fiction. But I do read a ton. I do love business books and stuff like that. The guy that spoke, I'll put it in my, I'm trying to remember Lindsay Robbins. He has a book that's basically the business side of this. What are you talking about, being 100% responsible, and it's called, I'll put it in the YouTube description of this video, because I can't remember the title. But I'm fascinated by people that, like Clint, like last night, I'm fascinated by things like that and what it is we can do to improve ourselves. There's so much good information out there. But I like talking to people, and that's what a great thing about being a photographer on a campus. You're an ambassador to all of campus, and you get to talk to people. And what's the professor research about? I love learning all those things. But I think that's the great thing about being a university photographer since I was a student. I really haven't graduated. I just don't go to class as much as I should. And I'm always fascinated to talk to world experts on my campus and say, okay, what should I be doing? What should I be reading? What should I know? And they'll always have that list ready for me. So that's a great question. Yes?
So in that first video you showed that 2 employees were upset when they got penalized for someone else missing the mark. But at the same time, they expected to get a bonus for someone else doing their job properly.
Yeah.
And my kid's the same way. She expects to be rewarded for being a decent human being.
Yeah.
I try to tell her, if that's the standard, so how do you do that for, just in this particular example for me specifically, student photographers? You're supposed to just do the job and pat you on the back every time.
I don't. My students are in the room and they're going to laugh out loud. There is no difference between being a mentor and a parent.
Right.
You show, you don't tell. Because you do, no matter what you say, they don't listen to it. But you show them what the job should be done, the way it should be done. And you have high standards for them. We have very high standards, and we expect a lot. But I think it's not done in anger, it's done in love. And if love is the basis of your relationship, and you genuinely care about your students, you're not going to have any problems. Yes?
You talked about prioritizing relationships, and if you're out on a shoot, you maybe take a picture and email someone so that, hey, I saw you there, type thing. Do you ever find that sometimes you're taking those pictures because you know someone is going to like that image, but it's not the best branded image, it's not something you might use for marketing, but you know someone's going to appreciate that?
100%, 1,000%, whatever you want to say it, yes. I'm taking the picture for them. Because I care about my relationship with them. And it's not like I'm taking the picture so that I can get access to the event. I'm genuinely grateful that people take time out of their day to have a picture taken, open a lab, help me with a lift truck to do some weird thing, right? And I don't have the budget to thank them the way I want to. I have pictures. And I have the power to take a picture. And the funny thing is, to me, that's a throwaway, that's a picture I'm not going to worry about. I may throw it in the archive, but I'm never going to print it and put it on my wall. But they will. They'll tell that story in 20 years. The university photographer took this picture of me while I was working at my job. And when that person retires, that will mean something to them. When that person passes away, that will mean something to their family. That simple little picture.
Maybe 2 comments on the wall. One, I really liked your question. It's real as I'm 20 now, and I feel like the older you get, the more you realize your parents were right about a lot of things. And we always joke that Jaren treats us like he treats his kids. Jaren doesn't lie to us. And I think that you're the same way with your students or your interns or your coworkers or whatever. Your actions speak so much louder than your words. And Jaren, if you break something, if you mess something up, if you leave the camera on auto ISO, which doesn't make Jaren happy, he just tells you.
We do need to talk about that, by the way.
He just says, be 100% responsible. He doesn't break you over the coals, he doesn't make you feel bad, he just tells you, don't do it again. And he treats you like a human being able to move on. And also I really like what Jaren was saying about his speaking things and kind of what Clint was saying, you guys have so much power and we love looking at your photos every month. You're amazing photographers. And the power you have to help build bridges on campus. I mean, Jaren at the presentation I watched him give last week, made a couple people cry because he's been here so long, he has a vision that no one else sees. He sees things in the locker room or in people's lives or with our president that no one else knows. And I just think that it's so cool for us to watch how much power you guys have. I mean, we get a taste of being able to help, but you guys have a lot of control. Like Jaren's saying, you have the responsibility of the ultimate power to do all you need.
Yeah, and I love what she said, you have all the power. And again, there's a lot of pictures that I take that are for other people that are never going to be in my portfolio, but it will be in theirs. And that's awesome. What I feel for accountants, how do they make people happy with spreadsheets? Because we can make people happy with pictures. Yeah, in the back.
Can I just add to my own personal experience?
Please.
It started at Colgate about 8 years ago, and the president that was brought on at that point was brand new, and they're barely a year. And I'm just thinking about some of the conversations earlier today of August talked about building up relationships, and one of the things we do is build relationships with the photos that we take. He was given an inaugural speech, it was fall of 2016. His parents were in the crowd, they were elderly people. I found out his father actually had terminal cancer. So after the inaugural speech, I literally could have knocked people over. I was trying to get the photo I wanted. He goes up to his father, gives him a big hug, rather emotional. And I hadn't even met the president yet, but just instinctually I'm like, I need this. I'm going to send it to him. This is how I'm going to break the ice. So, not asked to do it, just instinct told me to do it, sent it to his office. The next spring, I had to photograph a function at his house, private event, and happened to walk into the study, and that photo was sitting there on the shelf amongst all of his books.
Yeah.
And that's one example on how we build relationships. We're visual people. We're not poets necessarily, although we would like to be. We're not writers. But that is one way that we can connect, is trying to do something that isn't necessarily asked of us, but we know that it's going to, people will not forget that, and then they will take it with them forever.
I'd take it even a step farther. They will cherish it. And if you want to be a happy photographer, don't go out trying to take pictures that are going to make you look better. Go out, take pictures, and ask yourself, how can I bless people with this picture? How can I bless my campus community? How can I serve through this camera? And you'll be a much happier person, because it'll be about other people. Good, any other questions?
How do I share with my coworkers about not making excuses without sounding like I know what I'm talking about?
So that's the thing, right? That's the whole thing, like with your spouse, like you could be right and wrong at the same time. You don't, you show them. You show them in the way that you treat them. Because you send them this talk, yeah, it could be rough. But you be that person that emulates this lifestyle, they'll see it. And people have to be ready, and willing. Some people are just super negative, and that's just how they are, because they're protecting themselves because of fear, and they're not ready. You are, so you make the change. And I'm telling you, it ripples. Ripples will happen. And that's why I love having students, because they'll listen, they're impressionable, and they actually can change the world because of what they do. Be kinder than you want to be. All right, thank you guys.